floats it in. There it is! Touchdown in the penalty area. Costa Rica into the penalty area with Ian. There it is. It's Sheridan. What a save! And that is it.
From BMO Stadium, it's the United States and Colombia. Morgan, nice one, fires, yes! Tucks it in the corner! Cuts through, is hit, and there's a penalty coming. Duran from the spot, the captain hits the United States up. Rodman makes a run, Brittany Rodman, cross in, Shaw, wow! 3 goals for the United States! The United States advances to the semifinals.
Another day, another knockout game, but not just another opponent for the Canadians. A well-known foe in the Americans stand in Canada's way of punching their ticket to the Gold Cup final. Both teams are looking for a trophy after disappointing World Cup showings. The path to the Gold Cup final is on One Soccer, and it's coming up next. Hello, everyone, and welcome inside our One Soccer studio. It's Matchday Live presented by CIBC. Andy Petrillo, Jordan Wilson, and Jess Lisi with you. It is rainy out in San Diego, but it is nice and warm in this studio for a semifinal that features 2 teams who know each other very well. But the results have been very lopsided. Case in point, at the Tokyo 2021 Olympics, when the Canadians defeated the Americans in the semifinal, it was their first victory over the United States since March of 2001. In fact, Megan Rapinoe, the American superstar, when she was asked about the loss, she said she couldn't comprehend her feelings because in her career she had never lost to the Canadians. That semifinal win, as we know, went on to turn into Olympic gold. The Canadians, of course, will be looking for a repeat here in this tournament. Let's take you to the bracket, how Canada got here. Yes, they went back-to-back against Costa Rica, played them in the final game in the group stage, and then in the quarterfinal. A little dicier in the quarterfinal, but it was still a 1-0 victory for Canada. USA, in a very nasty affair against Colombia, took care of business. 3-0 the final there. Earlier today was the semifinal between Brazil, Mexico. Brazil, the winners in that one. They will be playing for the trophy here at the Gold Cup. Who will they meet? But first, let's get back to Canada, USA. Oliver Platt, pitch side in San Diego. You wouldn't know it with that umbrella, Ollie. You could very well be in the One Soccer parking lot. You have to stay nice and dry. But here's the thing, as I said off the top, both Canada, USA looking for some redemption after the World Cup.
Yeah, they are, Andy, and it's 219 days since that crushing defeat that Canada suffered to Australia at the World Cup, and that's the kind of result that demands change, and changes come. It's come in terms of personnel, most obviously with the departure of Christine Sinclair from the team, but it's also come in terms of tactics, of identity, of the way they want, of the way Bev Priestman wants this team to play. And since then, there's been high moments, 2 wins against Australia late last year. There's been low moments, perhaps just a few days ago against Costa Rica was not the most convincing performance. But I think out of that, we're left wondering, well, what has the change brought? Where is this team at right now, a few months out of the Olympic Games? And Bev Priestman agreed that tonight's game against the United States is the perfect yardstick to start figuring that out. She pointed to 2 previous games, obviously the Olympic semi-final against the US, where they showed so much spirit and desire and belief to win that game, and then also her first game in charge at the She Believes Cup earlier that year against the United States, where Canada really imposed themselves on the US in a way that has been very, very rare over the years. If they can combine those 2 aspects of those 2 performances tonight, they'll have an excellent chance of making it to the first ever W Gold Cup final and saying very good things about the progress this team has made since that World Cup. Andy?
Great stuff, Ollie. Keep dry. We'll check in with you a little later on in the pregame show. But the Canadians, of course, would like to prove that beating the Americans at the Olympics wasn't just this one-off. Since then, though, they have been 0-2 against them. They faced them twice. But is this the type of match where we finally get to see what this group is made of, Jess?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is their first test since the World Cup disaster. You know, I think at the end of the day, how talented you are and how great and strong your group is shown when you're playing those tough opponents. So this is their first test, and I think they need to come out big and they need to show what they're capable of, because at the end of the day, if we look at the group stage, they didn't really play any opponent that we thought was going to give them a run for their money. Obviously, the last game against Costa Rica was a little bit chippy there. We weren't really sure where it was going to go, but at the end of the day, we knew Canada was capable of coming away with that win. So this is definitely their biggest test yet.
There have been a lot of good things since that World Cup. Ollie just kind of alluded to them, of course, with the 2 qualifiers against Jamaica to once again book their ticket to the Olympics, Jordan. But bottom line is the World Cup was the biggest tournament. They don't make it out of the group stage game. Do you think this is a chance to change the narrative around this team?
Yeah, absolutely. It has to be. I think when you're playing, if you're looking at these 2 teams, every time Canada has played on American soil, there's been 21 times. 20 losses Canada have received, and there's been 1 draw. This is that moment that players and teams look for to go and restore belief, to say we can go and slay the dragon, we can go and beat a big dog, we can knock someone off the high horse. And why would you want to do it against anyone else other than the United States, right? That big brother that's kind of loomed over you for a while. They're number 2 in the world in FIFA rankings, and they're at a low point right now. Like, that's how good they've been. They almost went to a World Cup, and it was going to be a three-peat of winning it 3 times in a row. That's how good they are. If Canada can go out and beat the United States today, this is their catapult forward. This is their moment to say, we are a team that could play with the big dogs. But it's going to be gritty. It's going to be grimy. They're going to have to roll up their sleeves. They're going to have to stay focused. But it's something that they can do if they commit to. This is the day to beat the United States, because I also feel that this is a side that isn't as sharp and as great as they've always been. But Canada really has to put in the work to get things done, Andy.
They're definitely in transition, exited in the round of 16 at the World Cup, the earliest that they've exited. We were just looking at Alex Morgan, who initially did not make this roster. There was an injury. She got called in. Now she has looked good, has not looked out of place whatsoever. But if we do look ahead, how much does the result of this game perhaps affect the way you see Canada even heading into the Olympics? Would this determine to you whether or not they're a true contender?
You know what? I want to say yes, because again, I think this is their first test. And at the end of the day, this is the perfect measuring stick to see where Canada is going to line up against some teams that they might come up against in the Olympics, right? You're going to be playing good opponents. You're not necessarily going to get what they got in the group stage. So yeah, for me, I would say that this is the first test. Obviously, they do have another tournament coming up with the She Believes. But I think this right now is the biggest test yet. So absolutely.
This is where a trophy's on the line. She Believes Cup, we know, is a friendly where they will have a chance to go up against the Americans again. But how much weight do you put on the result of tonight?
I think the weight is massive, but I think also too specifically what is being tested tonight is, can the defense and can the team really grind out a result? Because I feel like whenever Canada play a great team, a top 10 team, that's when it gets dicey. They have no problem beating the Costa Ricas typically, or the El Salvadors, or those type of teams. But when it comes to a team that can go and punish you, this is where they crumble. So this is really a moment to say, we can do this, we can hang with the big dogs, and I hope that they do.
Well, we know that Kaylin Sheridan can do that because she came up with a great save against Costa Rica, which you know we're going to show you about 7 different angles of coming up a little later on the show. But first, let's hear from Kaylin Sheridan.
Kaylin, does a save like the one you made against Costa Rica put you in a good frame of mind for a game like this?
I think, honestly, we just move on to the next game. It's completely different atmosphere and environment and pressure on the line. So yes and no, but mostly no.
What kind of performance is it going to take tonight to beat a team like the United States?
We just need to be ourselves and come out and play our game and control the tempo, control the rhythm. Ultimately, if we come out and play our best selves, we'll come out on top.
Nice to play a game like this in familiar surroundings.
Always. Snapdragon is the best stadium in the world.
Thanks, Kaylin. Good luck tonight.
Kaylin Sheridan, all business as we bring you Canada's starting 11, brought to you by GE. Yes, San Diego Wave. She knows that stadium very well. Here's Beth Priestman's lineup, and you have to think these are the players she trusts. They are going up against their toughest opponent, and 2 names already standing out, Simia Wujo, and how about Adriana Leon? Jess, not so much that she's starting, but that she's starting in that number 9 position. What do you think the thinking is there?
Well, first off, I want to say I'm pumped about it. I think this is a really awesome move on Priestman's part. I think at the end of the day, Adriana Leon brings that hybrid of somebody that is capable of dropping into that midfield, getting the ball at her feet, spinning, going 1v1, but she's also very capable of getting in behind. She may not be the fastest, but she is explosive enough to beat players on the run. So I'm excited about this. I think it's going to give Canada a bit of an edge, and at the end of the day, she's the one that's been scoring. So why not have her in the middle of the park? You have players like Deanne and Lacasse around her, and at the end of the day, both of them are very fast. They're both very good at getting that ball in the box. And again, I don't want anyone else but Adriana Leon on the end of it. So I'm excited about this. This is a good move.
Bev Priestman understands that there won't be so many chances in this match, not 30 plus like the past match that Canada played. And you want a cold-blooded finisher on the end of that. Because you can live and die by that, Andy. You could say, you know what, this is our best informed striker right now. Nichelle Prince is injured. Someone to come in straight down the middle. If we get good service, she feels confident. I think with the manager, it's not always sometimes of how you see a team, it's who you believe in right now. Adriana Leon is that person where you're like, you know what, I feel like she has some gold dust. I feel like she'll make some magic, and it makes sense to put her right down the middle.
Yeah, it says a lot, again, of how she's feeling, right, about certain players, and in particular, more than anything, how she's feeling about Adriana Leon and putting her in that position. What about Simi Awujo? We've had these great debates about the midfield. No, it's Quinn. No, it's Julia Grosso. No, it's Quinn. No, it's No, it's Simi Awujo, 20 years old, getting this start against the United States, attends the University of Southern California. This isn't even somebody, you know, who plays pro, but Bev is believing in her.
And I believe in her. Sima.
Who's got the keys to
I had to do a vibe check, and Andy passed with flying colors. Simi Awujo, this is a career-defining night. Look, I don't want to put pressure, but this is what it's made of. A 20-year-old playing against probably one of the best teams in the world, and you're going against a three-man midfield, and you have Jessie Fleming, who you know you're going to give the ball to. Simi Awujo is going to have a tough task, but I think she's ready, and I love that Bev Priestman, again, we talk about trust, could have played Quinn. Could have played Grosso, but said, you know, Simi Awujo has the legs. She's been getting better and better bit by bit as she started matches and as she's coming to matches. So for me, I think it was a very brave move for Bev, and I hope that Simi Awujo pays her manager that respect. And more importantly, her country goes out and says, you know what, I'm playing for Canada, and I could be a mainstay for this club, for this country moving forward.
And she is a dual citizen, so this might rile her up a bit. She wants to get that win. But you know what? I think this is a good move, too. I think, yeah, we've gone back and forth, Grosso, Quinn, who is it? But I think for what this game needs, Awujo is the perfect person to be in there. Yes, she doesn't have the experience necessarily, but I don't think I've ever watched a matchup where, you know, she's been on the pitch and I'm like, oh, God, why Simi on the pitch? She's always been great. She's always done what's needed from her, and I think that tonight with her legs, with her size, and also she does have that ability to go forward. But now this frees up Fleming as well to go and do what she does best in that attacking half. So this is an exciting pairing.
And Jess, when we've been arguing, we've mentioned that Simi Awujo she's a hybrid. She has all the qualities that you'd want in a midfielder, but we just thought she was a bit too green, a bit too young. Bev had certain players that she knew, but I like that it was a brave move to start someone, and this is where you can really catapult your career. I want to put pressure on her, but it is a fact. If you go as a 20-year-old and have a blinder and have a great game against the U.S. and your boss in midfield and just making simple choices, those are the games where you restore a manager's trust game in and game out. And you will see she believes Olympics. She will be a starter, and she'll be someone that's playing for Canada regularly.
Very big test here tonight, that's for sure, because it's not going to be easy against the Americans. Let's hear from Lindsay Horan.
Important match today. How the integration of the new players combined with the experienced ones will help you to face the semifinals?
Well, I think you've seen a lot of it in our past few games. We've had a lot of changes and different lineups out there, and I think, you know, the new younger players coming into the lineups, they've done a really good job, but I also think the experienced ones helped them a lot, and that's what keeps our team going right now.
It's a classic match. It's beyond football. It's a rivalry. What would it need you guys to come out on top?
Focus on us, show the grit and mentality that, you know, we went into last game with, and we got to press them early and do our thing, but, you know, focus on our football as well.
Thank you. Best of luck.
Oh, they were gritty against Colombia as we bring you the United States starting 11, brought to you by GE in this tournament. 9 goals scored from 6 different goal scorers, so they've been spreading the wealth a little bit. 3, though, of their 9 goals have come by the way of penalty. So not saying that they don't have the ability to score, obviously, from open play. I'm just saying, be careful because they are feisty in the box, which means the defense is really going to be tested here for Canada. In particular, Kaylin Sheridan, I think, is going to have to come up a couple times probably in this one. But yeah, how much pressure will they put on Canada's back line and even between the ears, right? Trying to draw those penalties. We all saw that game against Colombia. It was ugly.
Yeah, absolutely. But first off, I have to mention, Andy Petrillo, that you're locked in tonight as well. And I just want to say that. I know you want to talk about unbiased, but I can feel the maple leaf oozing from your blood. Look, the Americans go forward and they go forward well. But if there's someone that I trust to... you can't get enough of that save. If there's someone that you trust in between the sticks, it's Kaylin Sheridan. Now, I think it's what happens in front of her. I think that back line and Rose and Buchanan and Jill, I think they have to have their best performance. Not so much of tackling, but leading what's in front of them. So just when you're looking at attacking players, you know, Haran can really have a day, but I really think everyone has to be on it tonight for Canada to get the victory.
Well, that young duo up front, too, of Shaw and Rodman for the United States. We'll see what they're capable of here tonight as the Canadians will try and shut them down. More national team action will be coming your way here on One Soccer. On March 23rd, we're going to turn our attention to the men. Big game against Trinidad and Tobago. Tune into One Soccer, 4 p.m. Eastern. Winner of this one earns qualification into Copa America. But right now, it is the Women's Gold Cup. It is a rainy night in San Diego. Teams warming up. Canada, USA. When we return, we'll look back on this rivalry and we'll check in once again with Oliver Platt to talk more about Canada's strengths and what they can take advantage of against the U.S.
Over, brilliant! What a strike! Again I say, who
else? Thank you, Canada, for making dreams come true. We're with you all the way.
We created Carlsberg 0-0 because even the best things can be better where alcohol free beer. Clean one-handed backhand is better. Balancing stuff is better. Whatever this is better. We created Carlsberg. Skipping your own ad is better. Parking in space, better. So, can the best alcohol-free beer make good things better? Probably.
Access Storage, proudly supporting Canada Soccer's women's national team on their road to Paris 2024.
Matchday Live presented by CIBC in a rainy San Diego night. It's a semifinal between Canada and the United States, and the Canadians know they're in for a battle.
touchdown in the penalty area, and finally Canada has that breakthrough.
I mean, I definitely think it was definitely a challenge. And I think maybe, you know, tested our mindset and some of our like internal procedures as a team, maybe in a different way. But yeah, I think, you know, it was a challenge, and that's always good just to see how the team reacts in those more difficult situations. They're a very physical side. They have a lot of speed up front. You know, they've maybe changed their formation and style a teeny bit, but I think it's very much still a very similar U.S. side that we're used to. So definitely that physicality and athleticism.
When you watch them play, you see a lot of energy, a lot of youth, and you know, players that want to make their mark and you know, and really leave it out on the field and fight for one another. So I think it's definitely going to be a challenging match for us. You know, it's like the greatest rivalry in sport. It's always there. The history is there. It's, you know, it's always a matchup every time we play them. Everyone's always super excited to match up against them, and I know everyone is looking forward to the game.
Obviously the game is strong all around. I think the U.S. will always be a team that is kind of like our little rival. So I think that's kind of the one you want to wake up in the morning for the most. So it's exciting that it's coming. I mean, I've got a scar on my eye because someone elbowed me in the face and burst my eye open. So it's pretty intense. Like, I think both sides get really competitive and we both want to win really bad. So it's kind of when you have two incredible teams playing against each other, it's kind of like a fight to the death to see who's going to win.
Leon looking for the hat trick, and what a strike! Make it 3 for Adriana Leon.
We entered the tournament thinking that we would win it, and that was always the aim. And I think, you know, you can't look past that. I think that's something that's motivated us throughout the tournament so far.
I think, like, coming into the mindset of an Olympic year, starting it off strong and having wins and coming out first in group stage and winning this tournament kind of sets the stage for this year. And obviously the ideal goal of the tournament is to see players in positions, try new partnerships, try things out, but also at the end of the day you're trying to win. And like, I think that deep down in that competition state of mind, everybody wants to win. And this is definitely a tournament that winning would prove a point. I think there's some big teams in this tournament, lots of teams that are going to be a part of the Olympics. So yeah, I think it sets a tone for sure, and we definitely are right there.
Fleming floats it in. Gilles, there it is!
It would mean a lot. I mean, I think it means a lot to win any trophy, and there's so many good teams in this tournament, so I think it would just be, you know, a really big confidence boost for the team. And yeah, I think cool to win a trophy and kind of, you know, be at the top of our region.
Let's bring in Oliver Platt once again. And Ollie, when it comes to the Canadians, probably more so, Kailen Sheridan not as busy except for that quarterfinal game against Costa Rica. But do you predict a bit more of a goalkeeper battle here between Sheridan and Nair?
Well, let's hope it is a goalkeeper battle, because that will mean that Nair is busy as well. I think there's no question that Kailen Sheridan's going to be called upon in this game, and that's why I think that save at the end against Costa Rica will have done her the world of good. She's had so little to do in this tournament, which makes the save even more remarkable, I think, to kind of be cold like that and to make one of the best saves, I think the best save we've seen at this tournament so far. And it just kind of gets her into things a little bit, gets the confidence going, gets her feeling good ahead of a match in which she's going to need to be one of, if not Canada's best player, I think, if they're going to come out of this game with a result. Is obviously all of these games in knockout stages are always decided in both boxes, and obviously in Canada's own, there's no one more important than Kailen Sheridan.
Let's talk about, you know, the right side for Canada has been strong, but on the flip side, the left side for the USA has been strong too. Kind of what are you predicting on that side of the pitch?
I think that's a really interesting matchup. Watching the US against Colombia, the left side was a real strength of that team. They brought in two young players in Jaden Shaw and Jenna Neiswanger, and Neiswanger in particular from left back was really, really good. She's given freedom to get forward on the left in the way that Emily Fox on the right isn't. She kind of stays with the two centre backs. And what I do think on the other side of the coin, though, is that as much as there's a lot of attacking threat on that side from the US, they can leave gaps at the back a little bit. Neiswanger, I do think, is a bit more inexperienced than Crystal Dunn in that regard at left back. So that's a really interesting matchup for Canada, who, like you said, a lot of their joy, a lot of their success has come down that right-hand side. We know Ashley Lawrence is a star for this team and consistently dangerous from that wing-back position. A bit of a different look tonight with Adriana Leon playing through the middle instead of on the right side as well. But you've got to think that Canada and Bev Priestman will be looking at that side of the pitch and thinking, as much as we've got to contain them, we can maybe also exploit some of the things they leave behind.
Ollie, I can't remember the last time Canada, from a physicality point of view, was really, really challenged and pushed and had to ride that fine line of not getting carded or fouled. And yet you look at what the Americans did against Colombia, and that was a nasty affair. How are you predicting this one to play out? And, you know, how much of a challenge do you think it'll be for the Canadians to keep their cool in this one?
Chance and gestures. Yeah, I think if you're Canada, you don't want that kind of game at all. I was confused by why Colombia got drawn into that so much. You know, I guess on the one hand, they kind of wound up a few American players, and Trinity Rodman was maybe a bit lucky to stay on the pitch in the first half. But the other side of that is that you light a spark under them, and you don't want to do that. I think this American team, they're going through a little bit of an identity crisis right now. They want to be better on the ball, control games more, but their real strengths, and they always have been their physicality, their athleticism, their ability to win duels, create turnovers and play in transition. And when you make it that kind of fiery, fast-paced game, particularly with the rain coming down, the speed of the pitch tonight, I think that suits the US a lot more than it suits Canada or anyone else who's playing against them. So I don't expect that'll be something that Canada looks to get drawn into too much, and I don't think it would be wise for them to really replicate Colombia's approach in any sense tonight. I was surprised by the approach they took, and it really played to the US's advantage, I think.
I guess on the flip side, if you keep your cool, that might frustrate the Americans. And to your point, it really looked like quite a few players there were on the verge of some pretty nasty cards as well. Ollie, go stay warm. We'll check in with you post-game. Enjoy the match as we are getting you set for Canada-USA semifinal Gold Cup. And you know we're going to wrap this all up on One Soccer Today. That's our magazine show that airs on non-game nights, 7 p.m. ET, weeknights, where we talk about all the big stories, in particular in Canadian soccer. You know this is a big one. Yes, the rain is not letting up, but they are ready for this one. We will continue to get you set up as kickoff is not far away now between Canada and USA right here on One Soccer. Canada's women's national team on One Soccer is brought to you by the Toyota Corolla family.
Toyota's electrified vehicles are for everyone. Every chauffeur, snack connoisseur, every scenery soaker, practical joker, every road tripper, toe dipper, every 9-to-5er, every long driver. Starting over 20 years ago with the Prius, we now have the largest lineup of electrified vehicles in Canada because this journey belongs to everyone.
Let's make sure healthcare is right there for us all. Health and well-being with just a call. Let's make producing food more sustainable, so feeding our growing world is attainable. Let's make our communities safer, smarter, and stronger. Let's make our home last longer. Let's make our technology work for good. Let's make the future friendly.
Access Storage, proudly supporting Canada Soccer's women's national team on their road to Paris 2024.
Gatorade, with electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing.
I do this for my town, my time, my time. None of you people can tell me this.
Rehydrate, replenish, refuel. Gatorade.
CanadaSoccerStore.com is the official home for the widest range of Canada Soccer licensed product, match jerseys, and fanwear.
Welcome back. Earlier today, the other semifinal game between Brazil and Mexico was played, and this was all Brazil. 21st minute goal by Adriana puts the Brazilians up 1-0. Goalie coming out out of position, wide open net for the Brazilian players. You take another look at this one, no mistake, and then Mexico puts themselves down a little bit here. Player taken down in the box. VAR would be called upon. And after a VAR check, down she goes. Not inside, actually, in the box. So that wouldn't be a penalty kick, but that would be a red card. in the 29th minute. So already Nicolette Hernandez leaves the game for Mexico. So now a player short. Brazil just going to work here. 32nd minute, Antonia Silva puts them up 2-0. It would just really kind of look easy for Brazil after this one. Then the start of the second half, 48th minute. Yasmin Ribeiro would add another one. 3-0 would be the final here. A lot was expected of Mexico in this tournament. They weren't at the World Cup, but again, they had that great showing against the Americans, defeating them 2-0, even though they had a bit of a tough start against Argentina in the group stage. So kind of up and down for them. And here they are in the semifinal. And Brazil, another team. We talk about this redemption story from the World Cup. They too did not make it out of the group stage, but now they're in the final of the inaugural Women's Gold Cup. And they await the result of this one, Canada, USA. What did you make as well of Brazil, Mexico, and even what I said about maybe more is expected of Mexico?
Yeah, I think more was a little bit. I think Brazil was a stronger side, but I think this also shows in a one-match knockout semifinal game, you have to bring all that you have. Mexico, yeah, you shoot yourself in the foot a little bit with the red card, but just started off a bit stale, Jess. And I feel like in these matches, you have to start from the first minute, and you have to dictate the tempo to play. And Mexico didn't do that.
Yeah, Brazil looked hungry though. Like I going into the match, I wasn't sure. I was like, who's going to win this? This is a toss-up. They're both really solid sides, but I think Brazil looked like they wanted it more. And the other thing is, even though they did have that one-man advantage, they didn't slow down. They played their typical cheeky style, that little back heel there to finish it. They continued throughout the entire match to be consistent and be great. So I do think that the right team walked away winning that.
Well, if we were to look at this from a Canadian perspective based on the Kaylin Sheridan interview, they do not care what happened against Costa Rica. They are not looking ahead to Brazil. They are focusing on the Americans right now. And you really do only get few opportunities for these types of games. We know the history between these two. We also know what it means to be able to play for a trophy. One more game to go before you find yourself in that position. But in particular, if you're a Canadian player, what are you thinking before this match?
Yeah, I think quite simply, if I was in the locker room, I could speak to the players. I'd say, do your job. I think start from there. It sounds simple, but I think in these matches, you can start thinking about the rain or what this means, or you haven't beaten this team on American soil 21 times, or whatever it might be. All these little thoughts can creep into your head. At the end of the day, Jess, is do your job, build from there. And I think with the Canadians, you don't want to play a team that you know you should beat. I think you want to challenge yourself and play a team that could beat you if you're not at your best. And that's what the Canadians are playing today. That's what they have up against them. As the U.S., they're not beating them unless they're near perfect, unless they come with all that they have. And I hope that they can do it, because within that, then this group could really take off and go to the next level.
Yeah, I mean, if I'm a player going into this matchup, I'm pumped up. I think at the end of the day, playing against the Americans, Canada has this chip on their shoulder. They really haven't been able to beat them on a consistent basis. So at the end of the day, I'm going in, I'm trying to prove something. I want to prove it not only, to my country, show how great Canada is as a team, but also, I want to go in there and prove to the U.S. You can't walk away saying, Canada's never beat me in my entire career, like Rapinoe put out there. So I think this is just this will be something that they're pumped up for. This is the game that they've been waiting for. So yeah, that's the biggest thing for me.
I think also too, from a tactical standpoint, me, Trills. You got to break everything down. I live for footy. I wake up in the morning, I'm ready to go. But you have to keep things compact. This is a day. Look at that rain. This is this is the type of weather I love. Right? Where touch tackles, you're getting stuck in, but that favors the Americans, right? What also favors them is that they have a deep bench as well. Players come on, want to attack. I think that the Canadians need to keep this game really compact. If you're going to play in the Americans' half, make sure that there's only 40 yards in between Vanessa Gilles and Adriana Leon. Keep things nice and close so that you can go and dictate the tempo of the game and pick your moments. If you try to make this a spread-out game, it favors the Americans.
Yeah, and I always wonder, these types of games, we always ask that question, who has the most pressure on them? And I do feel like maybe the most obvious answer is the Americans, because they're the ones who have won the most. But the Canadians have come such a long way that I wonder, this will be a real big disappointment if they don't have a strong showing. And I think we're perhaps past that point of, if you lose 1-0, it's okay. I think there's real expectation of wins here tonight.
Yeah,
Real
absolutely.
expectations of that from the Canadians. But you're right. Now all of a sudden it is going to be somewhat of a different game. You saw that rain coming down. It is pouring in San Diego. I was trying to think of a clever Anchorman thing to say, but I just...
can't ask me.
It's out. It's
okay,
gone.
you killed it anyway.
It's done. There we go. I am just not Ron Burgundy. Maybe Ollie can give us something in post-game. Either way, here we go, Canada. It is Canada, United States. Who will be going to the Gold Cup final? It all starts in minutes.
Allstate and its 900 agents proudly support Canadian soccer at every level. Visit allstate.ca.
Thank you, Canada, for making dreams come true. We're with you all the way.
It is over. Brilliant. What a strike. Again, I say, who else?
This is not just laundry. This is laundry that's one and done. This is the ultra-fast combo laundry machine that does both washing and drying cycles, so you can take a load off. This is cleaning large loads in about 2 hours. No more checking, no more forgetting. Profile is revolutionizing laundry, making any room the laundry room. This is GE Profile.
How do you go from the best to the ultimate without breaking the bank? You choose the big, bold, ultimate taste of ultimate chicken sausages and hot dogs. Choose ultimate taste and value, only from Maple Lodge Farms.
So where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I will take over the lemonade game.
In 5 years, I'll be king of the court.
I'll be on my 3rd reno.
That's what I'm talking about.
Thanks, Scott.
I'll be living in the city.
Not living in the city.
I'll be playing for Canada.
In 5 years, I'll be sitting there.
This match is brought to you by CIBC, Canada Soccer's lead partner.
It rains on average 41 days a year in San Diego, and how the cards have fallen. This just happens to be one of them. On the occasion of a massive match of two neighbors, the Canadians and the United States, who meet for the 65th time. Canada will be hoping that recent history is helping to lead towards a changing of the tides in a series that has been dominated by the Stars and Stripes. 53 wins, only 4 defeats. The Americans have scored 185 goals and have only conceded 39 to Canada, but still very much fresh in the minds of both of these sides, both of these nations and their supporters. A semi-final just a few years ago that led to Canada heading to the Olympic final and winning Olympic gold and using that as a launch pad towards the next generation of what the Canadian Soccer Association and all involved hope is a very, very successful one. Since that now infamous semi-final, these two nations have met twice. Once in the W Championship final. In Mexico, it took just 1 goal for the Americans to defeat the Canadians. And then at the She Believes Cup, a brace from Mallory Swanson saw them win for the 53rd time. It is the 14th meeting between Canada and the United States in the knockout rounds of a competitive tournament, Canada being the Americans' most frequent opponent in these types of matches. So as the sides prepare to take to the pitch, you have to wonder what is coursing through the minds of the players in the red anthem jackets and the side that expects to go out and win this game. And not just this game, but the next game, the final against Brazil, and then their 4 friendlies after that, and the She Believes Cup, and. That is the mantra, that is the mindset that the United States have worked oh so hard to drill into their players' brains. And while this is a period of transition for the host Nation tonight, it is still an opportunity specifically against the Canadians that they will be salivating for. The social media hype, both accounts tweeting the pump-up videos, get your popcorn ready, all of the typical cliches that we're used to. We're used to one thing, and that's American victory in these matches, but Canada, a perfect group stage, a stressful, albeit successful quarterfinal. I think that tonight might just be their night. Here are the national anthems.
Aficionados, favor de ponerse de pie para el himno nacional de Canadá.
Please remain standing for the national anthem of the United States of America.
Favor de permanecer de pie para el himno nacional de los Estados Unidos.
Here we go then, the United States of America and Canada, V65 in international A women's competition on a soggy evening in San Diego, California. Introducing